is that Jimmy trolling or is that Jimmy serious? You know, if you're not on the court playing, you should keep your mouth shut.
There's no GM or president or former coach with as much name recognition as the great Pat Riley. Once a former player who used to be teammates with the likes of Jerry West and Wilt Chamberlain, you probably never knew that about him.
Arguably the greatest basketball coach in the history of the sport, and now he was with the Heat.
You either know Pat Riley as a coach or as a president and GM of the Miami Heat. Perhaps his most unique quality is his strong grip on his team and his absolute refusal to become a doormat to his players regardless of their status. This, unfortunately, has led to confrontations and disputes over the years, and subsequently departures of players who found his style of leadership unpleasant. In this video, let's take a detailed dive into Pat Riley's history of beef with the superstars on his own team, but also his animosity towards every team, every front office he worked for. Why did he burn every single bridge every time he left an organization? How has Pat Riley become the NBA's most notorious executive, in which fans coined him as the Godfather?
When we get in dire straits, you'll see Irvin Johnson or myself do one thing, and that is put the fist in the air. When we put the fist in the air, that ball goes down into number 5, and we put Kareem in the low post, and we isolate him down in a position that he's owned now for 20 years. You don't need to do too much more for him. Just give him the ball, get out of his way. He's made me a great coach.
Under Pat Riley as their head coach, the Showtime Lakers captured 4 championships, along with 7 appearances in the finals during the 1980s. Riley was a young 36 years old when he first got promoted to head coach, halfway through the 1981-82 season. And taking over a team with championship aspirations and a ton of egos was no easy feat. Even Riley was once a nervous young lad, not sure how to handle the amount of superstar personalities and minutes on this roster. Heck, being a rookie coach is hard enough, but to take over this Lakers team, Riley had little time to prepare. For him, this was a make or break opportunity. It was the chance of a lifetime. Had he failed with a team like this, the scrutiny would be unbearable. But he got a small kick in the butt to propel him forward. When he recalled his first year as a coach in LA, there was one thing that stuck to his mind: a meeting with the Lakers owner Jerry Buss, which built the foundation for his coaching style. Quote, "He would call me in some days and he'd say, hey, be a coach. Coach him. Don't be afraid of him just because he's Kareem, just because he's Magic. Coach him. I sense that you're deferring to these guys a little." Over the course of a decade as the Lakers head coach, Riley instilled his hard-nosed demeanor into his team and believed that no matter the talent or stature of the player, he will be coached as hard as the 13th man at the end of the bench. Michael Cooper even claimed, "Shoot-arounds turned from 40 minutes to 1.5 hours long with a lot of video. It was mentally fatiguing." All the success, the championships, the fame, the Lakers dynasty in the 1980s was all under the spotlight. Behind closed doors, however, the cracks were becoming larger and larger, with Pat Riley at the center of the controversy. Riley slowly transformed as a coach. In fact, he no longer wanted to be just the coach. He exhibited a level of control over his players that seriously rubbed them the wrong way. For example, according to Magic, Riley would even assign seats to them on the plane, and would punish any player who doesn't follow this rule by getting fewer minutes in the next game. He stated, quote, "He wanted to control everything. He tried to control the whole arena. He wanted to control the locker room, the band, the Laker girls. He tried to control everything, and he got away from what he was there to do." By the late 1980s, despite the Lakers still being contenders and still reaching the finals year after year, the environment in the locker room was horrible. The vibes were negative, and you can sense this team, this dynasty, was crumbling. A team that was once endeared for not only their success, but their camaraderie. It seemed like a remnant of the past. And all the blame went to Riley. In his final year with the team, he still managed to coach the Lakers to a ridiculous 63 wins, the second most wins of the Pat Riley era. Actually, he even won the Coach of the Year award. So even with the turmoil, the sheer talent of the Lakers was enough, and the controlling nature of Riley did lead to results. Unfortunately, those results would soon be flipped over their head as the Lakers entered the 1990 playoffs.
Turnover number 2. Jimmy tells our statistician, look out, look out! Magic and Kevin are having a fight. What's going on? That's the first time in his career Magic's ever been kicked out for fighting. Now underneath they go to Eddie Johnson from 20 in the corner. Good! The Suns lead it by 1.
B.L.A. B.L.A.
The crowd is hushed as the Lakers go off. They are through and the Suns will go on to play for the Western Conference Championship.
All of that stuff going on behind the scenes, all the cracks in the foundation shattered. Everything came crumbling down at the same time. By Game 4 of the series, it became obvious that the Lakers were discombobulated. The Suns, a team that they swept in the previous year and should have been swept again, surprisingly found themselves in control for the entire series. So when they won Game 4 and they went up 3-1 on the verge of closing out the Lakers, all the finger pointing started, with most of them pointing at Pat Riley. After getting eliminated in a game where Magic recorded 43 points and 10 assists, Riley grilled him for taking just one ill-advised shot. To which Magic stated to the press, "I changed the play one time and he got mad at me." Additionally, Michael Cooper was furious with Riley's coaching tactic of giving the ball to only Magic or James Worthy, and he benched anyone who tried to argue with him. In the elimination game, Worthy shot just 5 for 21 from the field. The complete meltdown in the locker room by the players and coaching staff made everyone realize, oh yeah, this is Riley's final season in Los Angeles. Pat Riley took a brief departure from coaching, but it wouldn't be too long before his return, this time to Madison Square Garden. The arrival of Pat Riley coincided with the Knicks' rise into relevance. He instilled a level of toughness and defense that quickly became the team's identity. But more importantly, he established a tight control over his players, a polarizing tactic that led to years of dismay among the Lakers' locker room. For the Knicks, however, this is what they needed. What Riley did best was assign a role to every single player on the roster and make sure they practiced their role to an absolute perfection. And if the players were to not follow the role given to them, they wouldn't get playing time. Like in Los Angeles, Riley did not want his players to converse and be friendly with the other team. He instilled an us versus them mentality. And if he caught you being buddy-buddy with an opponent, especially in the playoffs, oh, he would confront you about it. He wanted his players to feel hatred for the opponent, and to manifest that hatred onto the court with their physicality. Remember when Michael Jordan rose up and tomahawked on Patrick Ewing? Well, in the 1992 playoffs, right before Game 6 against the Bulls, Riley reportedly showed this clip of Jordan dunking on Ewing for 10 straight minutes. Riley wanted to ingrain in his players' heads that this guy is your enemy, and you must stop him at all costs, even if it means playing dirty. He was quoted saying to his locker room, "One of you is gonna step up, knock Michael Jordan to the floor, and not help him up. Michael isn't just gonna play poorly, you have to force him to play that way." The players got the message. Game 6 begins, and the Knicks displayed a level of physicality that was absolutely insane, even by their standards. They held Jordan to just 9 for 25 shooting, but more impressively, 22 of his 25 shots came outside the paint. Their defense was daunting, and it even scared Jordan from driving to the rim, knowing that he's gonna get hit several times, very hard. Of course, the Knicks still lost in Game 7, but this was the only time the Bulls were forced into a Game 7 during their first three-peat. No other team in those 3 years were able to push them past Game 6, but the Knicks did. Riley's relationship with his players was comparatively more tame compared to his time in Los Angeles, mostly because he believed that this group of players respected the blue-collared mentality that he established. Many of them have not experienced winning prior to his arrival, so they were willing to accept Riley's guidance and his championship pedigree. Soon, he would guide the Knicks to a finals appearance for the first time since the 1970s, and they were just one game away from the championship.
6 of 7 from the line. Time running out on the New York Knicks. The Houston Rockets are the 1993-94 NBA champions.
It was deemed a successful season, but for Riley, he saw a chance to pounce on an opportunity he's been waiting for so long. Ownership. Riley, he didn't even have a problem with ownership or the front office. For the most part, they allowed him to coach how he wanted to coach. But Riley had bigger plans. He wanted more. He wanted more control over the decision-making. First, he requested to be promoted to president of the New York Knicks, and then a 10 to 15% stake in ownership. Yeah, he was ready to negotiate terms with the owner of Madison Square Garden. But before he could even start the conversation, he got rejected. The owner of the Garden, Rand Ariskog, knew what was coming and shut it down without consideration. It was a bold maneuver by old Riley, and it reinforced the notion of what he's been seeking all this time: absolute control over a team, the ability to make decisions on his own whim without the limitations of upper management who have the final say. By 1995, he realized the Knicks were not the team he could take over and force his decisions on. The 1994-95 season would be his final year in New York, and during this time, we saw a different Pat Riley. A Pat Riley who wasn't his usual demanding self. He was fine with players missing practices or not trying hard enough. Perhaps he still felt dejected, knowing that he'll never rise up the ranks like he wants to in New York. The championship was still the goal for the Knicks, but it wasn't the goal for Pat Riley, who wanted more. He admitted in his 4 years in New York, it was like he aged 10 years. But you wouldn't think so, considering how immaculate his hairline is.
Anthony stumbles and falls. Time runs out. Reggie Miller scoring 8 points in the final 32 seconds. Taunting Spike Lee and 19,000 at Madison Square Garden.
The 1995 playoffs saw a disappointing end to the Knicks season at the hands of the Indiana Pacers. At this point, there were rumors around the league that Riley has been communicating with Mickey Arison, the owner of the Heat. It was quite the irony. The coach who emphasized camaraderie and never wanted his players to be friendly or talk to his opponents was behind the scenes scheming, planning his escape all along to Miami, the Knicks' biggest rival in the 1990s.
Just 2 days before the start of the season, Pat Riley sent Glenn Rice to Charlotte for Alonzo Mourning in a 6-player blockbuster trade.
Look at him try!
He got deals done.
I think I'm fortunate to be in this situation right now. I will be playing under one of the greatest coaches that ever coached the game.
All of a sudden, the Miami Heat had something it never had before. It had an identity.
And so Riley's exit strategy commenced, along with his plan to not just become Miami's new coach, but a key figure in the organization. According to Chris Herring, a senior writer at Sports Illustrated who covered the Knicks during this era, this is what Riley demanded. Quote, Riley wanted an immediate 10% ownership of the team and another 10% share over the course of his deal. He also wanted Arison to loan him money to pay taxes on the initial 10% stake. He also wanted complete control over Miami's basketball operations and to be named the team president. Riley wanted Arison to purchase his sprawling homes near Los Angeles and New York City. He wanted a limo service to and from games in Miami. He wanted credit cards and $300 per day. I mean, in hindsight, this seemed like a ludicrous request for anyone to accept. However, at this time, the general consensus was Pat Riley was the best coach in the entire league. Regardless of how his former players felt about him, his track record spoke for itself. And Mickey Arison wanted Riley on his team at all costs. And Riley wanted to have full executive control over the franchise. In the modern era, Riley cemented himself as a notorious figure of the Miami Heat, mainly for his no-nonsense approach and his tight grip over a franchise where even the greatest superstars do not have a say over his own ambitions. It first started with Alonzo Mourning, and while their relationship has developed into a mutual respect for each other, it didn't always start this way. Like with Magic, Kareem, and the Lakers of the past, Riley joined an established group of players, veterans, who've done things a certain way for their entire careers. Riley changed that, and once again, established strict rules and regulations, which initially pissed off Mourning. Eventually, however, they came to an understanding, and Mourning now considers him as one of his dearest friends. A decade later, however, another feud arose between Pat Riley and none other than the Big Diesel. Shaq is no stranger to having public feuds. Heck, he had one with Kobe just a few years prior, which led to his departure. Shaq is a guy who does not like to play by the rules. When he's not playing basketball, he likes spending the summer doing whatever the hell he wants. It was a popular trend that every summer, Shaq would show up out of shape, and he'd have to work his way back into shape as the season progressed. Riley, at the beginning of the 2006-07 season, a few months after the Miami Heat won their first ever championship, his foot was still on the pedal. As one of the NBA's most winningest coaches, he wasn't satisfied with just one championship, and he expected the players to come back and win again. Shaq did what Shaq always does. He showed up to training camp overweight, and not just a normal amount of overweight. Shaq was 100 pounds overweight, showing up to training camp at nearly 400 pounds. Of course, 20 to 30 pounds overweight was the norm for him, but this much? That's freaking insane. And everyone on the Heat were quick to point out how fat he had gotten. With both Shaq and Riley having very strong personalities and opinions, Riley confronted him, and the two of them got into what Udonis Haslem described as the worst altercation he's ever seen. He legitimately thought Shaq was going to kill Riley. The slow start to the season further exemplified the Heat's struggles to recapture back-to-back titles, and subsequently, the relationship between Riley and Shaq soured so much that he traded him away not too long after. Heat culture is a term that I'm sure you're familiar with. It's been kind of a running meme for a while now. But this is exactly the kind of thing that people mean when they say that. Riley established this culture. Fast forward to 2010. The Miami Heat Big Three became the most recognizable super team in all of sports, and with the sheer amount of superstardom on this roster, along with it came several attempts for them to control the team and bend the roster to their own will. It entered the national spotlight when LeBron James reportedly asked Riley to step down as the president and become their coach instead, as he did not have faith in the young Eric Spoelstra. Riley, however, was not having it. He backed up Spoelstra hard and told LeBron straight to his face, "This is my team. You don't get to force me to do the things I don't want to do." While Riley tends to have disagreements with his superstars, there's one thing that they all share in common: their desire for success, their motivation and hunger to win. While the relationship between LeBron and Riley started off rocky, it improved over the years because they share that common purpose. You need a certain type of personality to get along with Riley, and the one thing he doesn't respect is players who step out of line and try to do his job. Once LeBron understood that and fully bought into Spoelstra as the definite coach, they started winning championships. Fast forward again to 2025. The Jimmy Butler ordeal has a similar vibe to Riley's past encounter. When he tried to demand a trade, Riley almost took it as a threat. While former players have supported Jimmy's request, Riley has always stood by his standards, and never will he become a doormat to a player on his own team, regardless of their status. While he's mellowed over the years and he started to value friendships, Riley has admitted he's become more soft and more willing to cave in to demands if he sees fit. For Butler's situation, however, it's too much. He flat out called him a diva, because when Butler doesn't get what he wants, he starts skipping practices, missing flights, not trying at all in the games. He's literally sabotaging his own team. As a result, the suspensions are deserved. We've seen players make trade demands in the past, think of Anthony Davis or Ben Simmons, and after demanding the trade, the team is basically forced to give in to their demands. But not Pat Riley. This kind of BS doesn't fly with him, and it's never had, ever since he took his first coaching job in Los Angeles all those decades ago. His core principles have not changed. His relentless control over his team is still as solid as his hairline. Oh, that thing is never wilting, and neither are his standards. Anyway, that's all folks. Thank you all so much for watching. What are your thoughts on The Godfather? While Riley has a clear track record of success, it seems like in Miami, after LeBron left, he's had a hard time attracting superstar free agents. Despite reaching the finals and losing twice, it seems like they've struggled to make adjustments to improve their team. Do you think it's because players are apprehensive about playing for Pat Riley? What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching, and of course, as always, I'll see you next time. Peace.